What's up guys, I'm Zach and welcome back to Workshop Edits and welcome to episode 9 of my tiny office build series in my backyard. Today's video is going to be all about doing custom window trim, custom door trim, putting in baseboards and doing final painting and closing out the overall build of this tiny office. Doing the window and door trim was actually a very fun process. I was back in the wood shop building my own custom wooden trim and figuring out what kind of baseboards I wanted to do, and doing all of that detailing was a really nice way to sort of wrap up this build and see all of the prep work, build, and detail come together in this and really pay off. And I'm really excited with how it came out, and I'm excited to show that to you. So without further ado, let's get into this final episode. We are getting down to some of the final stages of the build. So the two things I have left are the flooring, which I've ordered and it hasn't come in yet, and the trim for the windows, the door, and the baseboards. I thought a lot about this. The overall aesthetic of this place is supposed to have somewhat of like a coastal craftsman beach vibe, but then the outside is kind of like modern farmhouse, but I don't know, it's kind of like a bunch of styles blended together. Because the roof to me is supposed to be somewhat of a focal point in here, which is why the rest of the walls are white. I don't want, well, and because I really only have one window and one door and the space isn't that big, I don't want this window to be like too much of a distraction. I just want it to sort of complement the ceiling. So I found a couple of different references that sort of brought together a blend of things that I had on my mind. What I think I want to do, and I think is gonna look good, is this window and the door are going to be cased and then trimmed with somewhat of like a coastal craftsman vibe that is going to be wooden, and it should match the ceiling. I haven't finished the ceiling and I'm not going to put a finish on the trim, because if I find that they're just like not complementing each other, then I can homogenize them by picking a really nice finish that ties them together. Same thing for doing the door, but I'm going to wait to do the door until after I do the flooring. That way I can make sure that just like the casing and the trim for the dooring specifically complement or match up with the how I lay the flooring. So overall, the plan is today I'm just gonna focus on doing simple window trim, casing and window trim for here. Normal coastal craftsman has, it's like very pronounced on top. And I think because this space is small, I don't want that again to be too much. So what I'm probably gonna do is take down that design and just overall like shrink it. So like if it was gonna be 5 inches on top, maybe it's like 3.5 inches. And if it was gonna be 3 inches on the sides, maybe that's 2 inches. And you know, if it was to stick out 4 inches on the sides here, maybe it's, again, it kind of complements here. So I'm figuring out a little bit as I go, but I want again, this window should be not a distraction. It should sort of just tie in together with the roof. So the overall look that I landed on, just to sum it up, wooden casing and trim here, wooden casing and trim for the door, and white baseboards. I think that's gonna look good. The great thing about that is if I find that it's just like too much wood or like, it looks bad, I can just paint it. I have this really nice piece of what I think is pine, but it's like really straight and beautiful, and I can't remember where I got it from. I think a friend gave it to me, and I think it is going to be the perfect thing to use for this specific piece of window, and then I'll have to find like a really nice 2x whatever to finish framing this out again to complement it all together. So let's go to the shop. It's gonna be great to actually just work in the shop on this project because I haven't been there in a while, and we're gonna start cutting all this down. So this is gonna be the bottom casing piece. So what I want it to do, so let's figure out what orientation I want. There's a knot here, so maybe I don't have that. But there's a knot here. That feels right. So this is 43 inches wide. My window opening is 36. So so that leaves 3.5 inches of overhang. So let's get that. So 3.5 inches. I think I want to leave like an extra 1/8 of wiggle room. So we'll go 3 and 9/16. Mark my ends. Then I know that the depth, because I took measurements, is 2 13/16. So I can just round that up to 7/8 to give me, again, a little wiggle room. So we'll go 7/8. So let's mark that. So now I have to notch these out. This is still, I think, the best thing I've ever 3D printed. It's just a spacer block so that you can cut with a sled up against your fence and you have to worry about clamping the block. Just fits right on. That's exactly 1/2 inch. It's the best thing ever. If you want access to it, I'll put a link to it in the description. It takes 2 hours to 3D print. It's the best. For all this trim, I'm not doing like a chamfer or a bevel or a roundover. I'm just using this fine grit, brand new sanding block, and I'm just gonna break the edges. Whew. That's really nice. I saw this technique where you use screws to add just a little bit of spacing so that your piece doesn't sit exactly flush with the top, and it helps just like if your trim isn't quite thick enough, or like based on, here, let me show you. Like this window gap up here isn't like 100% even, and it's a little bit bigger than I would like. So you can drill screws up in a couple of places, and just that's how like you can shim it super easily and get the fit that you want. So I'm gonna do that just for this top piece. I've got my 2 side pieces, and I'm going to do an even reveal of just over 1/4 inch on each side. So I've got my little marker just to drop these into place. And for full transparency, my window is not perfectly square. That's why I shimmed this one right here, which has given me a nice even reveal on this side and this side. So I'm going to take my first piece, just figure out which way I like. Yeah, I like it this way. So it's going to go right here, and I cut it long so that now my top pieces can sit on top of it, and I'll have the same reveal up here. Hold that there for a second. Oops. got this trim header piece that sticks out the same width as the piece at the bottom. It's gonna sit just like this on top. To attach it, I'm gonna go brad nails down through the top here. Then I'll get my last header piece in place and go up into that to tie it all together. All right, well, this came out awesome. I think you can see how it kind of just complements it, but it's not like an overpoweringly large header, and the reveals are nice and clean, and it basically hid any of the crookedness of the window. Really, really like it. I'm kind of up in the air still, like if I want to stain any of this, because I think it just looks really good in its natural form. So I should put some protective coating on it, but there's a bunch of little nail holes. I'm gonna go around, not even gonna show it, but I'm just gonna fill those in with some wood filler and sand them down and call this window trimmed. All right, we're gonna jump a little bit ahead in the project. I just finished installing all of the floors. If you missed that video, you can check it out right up here. Now that I have those floors done, I can move on to finishing the rest of the trim. So that is gonna include the door, so the door casing, the door framing, which is literally gonna be the exact same thing that I just did for the window, just a little bit bigger. Once those are installed, we can go ahead and do the baseboards. So let's start with this door. Way back when I did the install of this door, I got the spray foam, excess spray foam on the door. So I read that you can just take some acetone and a cloth and wipe it off. You can also scrape it off with a razor blade. So I'm just gonna clean that up before I put on the jam, because I just feel like it's gonna be a lot easier to do. I have gotten to the part of the project where it's very, very hot in here because I don't have an AC unit installed yet. It's very hot out. It's not practical to be like keeping the door closed, or it's really hot. So I look really sweaty. All right, so this is done. I think it came out great. I mean, it matches the window almost perfectly. The colors are just slightly different, but when you kind of, again, factor in the color of the roof, the color of the joists, color of this wood, and then the window, which is directly behind the camera. I don't know if they're worth finishing or trying to like put a finish on that sort of brings all the colors together, because I think it just looks really good. But I am really, really happy with my design decision, which is to just do wooden trim on the two fixtures, because I do think that ties it together. So we're gonna move on to baseboards now. So I'm going with just this is 4.5 inches wide. It actually started as 5.5 inches. For some weird reason, at my local Home Depot, they didn't have any of the 4.5 inch pieces, but the 5.5 inch pieces, which they did have a ton of, were $1 less per linear foot. So this ended up costing me, I think I bought 27 feet. Like I saved almost $30 and just use the table saw to pull it together. So I'm gonna do mitered corners for all 5 pieces. I think the most challenging one is gonna be this long piece along this wall, which I might literally have to take the screen off the window to put the piece in. But I've got all of these ripped to size. This is very straightforward as far as I understand. I'm using 2-inch brad nails. Just measure twice, cut once. I'm gonna start with the big piece on the wall, then to the 2 small walls, and then do these final corner pieces just so that they can be the last thing that ties it together. So let's do it. All right, baseboards are all done. I'm pretty terrible at that, even when I think I'm cutting perfect 45-degree miters. I think what most people experience is walls are not perfectly 90 degrees, and you can really feel that, especially when you get to the bottoms of pieces. I'm gonna use the white caulk again, gonna go around, gonna do all of the tops and close off any joints, the corners, and try to make them look flush, and then cover up all the nail holes, and then we can go back and paint this tomorrow. I've got green, double layered green frog tape laid everywhere, just don't wanna mess up my new floors, but that's it, let's do it. I know that that was a massive amount of information. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, I really applaud you. If you have any questions about anything that you saw in any parts of this project, please feel free to leave me a comment. I would be more than happy to answer any questions you have about anything that I did on it. If you want to dive into just a little bit more detail or check out comments on any individual videos, make sure you check out the individual videos that I posted. There are 9 of them, and those just might give you a little bit more insight within the comment section or in the information within the video so that you can learn more in the process. Thank you again for checking out this project, and I look forward to seeing you guys on whatever it is that I'm building next. Bye.